This is Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio.
Welcome back to Soccer 101. Rocc, another tough weekend, and we just got, shall I say, tough news, rough news, bad news, new news. Either way, we have a lot to talk about on Soccer 101 for last weekend, for this week, and for this coming match against the Vancouver Whitecaps. So, listen, Rocc, I appreciate you. I can't wait to get your opinion on this last weekend. It was really rough, but just let's give the listeners a little preview of what's coming on this episode.
Yeah, we're going to be running down, obviously, our review from the 1-1 draw against Atlanta FC from last Saturday. That's kind of lead us into the breaking news that came down on Thursday afternoon that looks like it could be changing the complexion of Saturday's matchup against the Vancouver Whitecaps. And the big thing right now across the city landscape has been the way that the young players have been playing, not just for the first team, as we have some young players like Reid and Caden Glover who are getting their first chance, but obviously the City 2 and Academy teams continue their winning ways. So we're going to get a little bit into the youth players as well, how that could be affecting the first team looking ahead to the future, and how it could be affecting this matchup against the Vancouver Whitecaps on Saturday night. We'll be talking about that to wrap up the episode.
All right, so let's start with the match review of what happened this last weekend.
They scored!
City SC scored. They broke a scoreless record there of 300-something minutes. What was
341.
Yikes. 341 minutes elapsed without a goal, and Vassilev was able to break that. And it wasn't called back. We'll get into that controversy in just a minute. I'm very curious.
Here we
I
go.
have intentionally not texted you about this because I didn't want to rile myself up, and I wanted to see what you thought.
I intentionally did research on every part of the game that wasn't the fouls because, God, I hate having to talk about it. Thanks, MLS. Great job, guys.
Yeah.
Great job.
It's the worst, but it raises real questions for new and old fans
You're right.
alike.
Right.
So, City SC tied 1-1 with Atlanta United FC on Saturday night here at home at City Park. First half, Vassilev broke the scoreless 300-something minutes there with his third goal of the season. Assists from Klauss and Reid.
Okay,
Reid's.
I did not know until this goal that the MLS did secondary assists. I don't know how it escaped my mind until now, but I had no idea until I was looking at the box score. And actually, after the game, I asked Carnell, and he's like, well, he gets an assist. And I was like, well, maybe it's one of those coach things where it's like, he put in the key cross, so we're going to count it an assist. But then John Gasparoni, who handles all the media relations for City, was like, no, they do secondary assists in MLS. That had completely gone over my head 100%. I think it's dumb, but I'm happy for Reid.
Dude, I am so glad that you said that because I've been watching this game for a long, long time, and I didn't know they did that either.
All I
thought was, wait, is that like a cutesy thing? Because
I couldn't remember another City goal this year that has a secondary assist attached to it.
Me neither.
I gotta go and look at them now.
Is that an MLS thing?
It's an MLS thing. God, there's no. I cannot think of a big European league that does secondary assists. I cannot think of a single big European league. I don't know if there's smaller ones. I don't know if I don't think there's a big South American league that does it either. It's kind of crazy to me. I think it's very American kind of hockey culture. I don't know. It's a hockey assist. That's what it is. So I'm not sure why we do it. I like it because if you look at the play, Jaden Reid's cross is pinpoint perfect to the back post, and Klauss does a good job of connecting with it. I'm not sure if he's trying to direct the ball there to the dead spot where Vassilev jumps on it. So if you want to talk about which one of those two passes was actually more skillful and more direct towards achieving a goal, it kind of was Jaden Reid's cross, which is kind of why I thought Carnell was just giving him the credit for the assist, but no, it's an assist in the MLS record book, and good for Jaden Reid because it was a great play inside of a great performance from him.
Yeah, I felt like an idiot. I thought, man, I know I've been hitting the head a lot. I've hit my head on things. I get hit with, softballs and soccer balls and different things all the time.
I can't remember last year it happening.
Me neither, man. And
it blows my mind. I felt very stupid, but hey, life's about learning new things.
Dude, and here's the weird thing about this particular fact, learning or relearning, if that's the case, that they go back like this to two different assists for the junior assist or what a secondary assist, whatever you want to call it. We learned that not only do they do that in the MLS, but they apparently go back on every goddamn goal 20-something minutes worth to see if there was a foul involved. So, like, what the heck is going on with this league and how far back we have to credit or discredit things as far as the run of play? What a joke. We'll get into that in a second. I just want to highlight that this was Jay Reid's first career MLS match, and, of course, he earned his first MLS assist through that secondary assist marker there. Now, he's the 20th different player in City SC history to record an assist in MLS regular season play. That's a lot, considering we've had 1.5 seasons so far. And Caden Glover made his first appearance for City SC this season as well. This is Glover's first time playing at City Park for St. Louis City SC. Very freaking cool. 2 players on loan from St. Louis City 2 started an MLS match. That is the first time in City SC history. Obviously, like I said, not a huge history, but still something to shout out there as far as match facts go. And match facts should have seen this as a win. It was not a pretty performance. It was kind of ridiculous, but the person that had the worst performance was that ref. And I know it's a part of the game, and I'm gonna preface any of this kind of.
You've been hanging out with Tim Parker a little bit, haven't you?
Listen, if I was a player on this squad, I would not mention the ref at all in the post-game stuff. I wouldn't have made that a highlight. I wouldn't have made that.
Would you comment on a Twitter post from the MLS with a clown emoji? And then get fined for it. Yeah, Tim Parker, for those of you who don't know, Tim Parker has been fined by the MLS an undisclosed amount for commenting on the officiating. The commenting on the officiating he did was posting the clown emoji under an MLS post of the head official from the game doing his pause the crowd moment that made a lot of City fans angry. Tim Parker responded with a clown emoji under that video, and he has been fined an undisclosed amount by the MLS. He was actually asked Thursday afternoon at City's press availability about that.
I know that there is a line with the league in terms of what you can say and what you cannot say in order to warrant a fine. I just believe that in my actions, I think as a player in this league for 10 years now, I think it's clear that I like this league. I love this league. I love playing in this league. And I want this league to have the reputation that it deserves and will continue to grow and earn. And that I don't think posting clips like that is going to help the reputation of this league. I also don't think that the way the ref handled that situation was respectful to the players or the fans in our home stadium. So I don't think that was done fairly. But like I said, I mean, I think the league will continue to grow, and I want it to continue to grow. I just hope that it is able to do it in the right ways.
I think that's a very fair explanation from Tim Parker and quite a ridiculous fine from the league.
Interesting. Okay, I maybe have a different take. I didn't know he did that, and I didn't know that he got fined. But I will say, I'm sure at some point in training, contracts, whatever it may be, he's probably got a fairly clear idea of what's considered, shall we say, appropriate action or we'll say appropriate or classy interaction. And I'm not saying that he's not classy here, but like, I personally think you got to stay out of that. You got to put your fight on the field. And like, if a league wants to promote in this way and you think it's silly or ridiculous or whatever, like, you kind of have to ride that wave, man, and like, just don't get involved. Don't get involved, especially for something like this. That's where right. It's like, it's going to be a touchy subject that your fans are already going to. We're already holding the flag for you, and that's what I was going to say.
That's a good point.
Listen, if I was a player, I'm not going to come off and talk about the refereeing in this particular instance. Maybe in like a more severe instance, but in this one, dude.
In fairness to him, laying off and making a little joke on Twitter is very different than calling out a referee post-game, right after the game, at the interview podium. I think it's completely different.
I think it's different, and I think it's worse. You think it's better somehow?
I don't think it's better, but I think it's less inflammatory because especially with the way he prefaced it, which is, you know, he's pretty much saying that it's a dumb post for the league to be propping up, and he's not coming after the official directly. and I think a comment after the game comes after the official directly, whereas this was more about the post itself being promoted by social media. And I know you need that explanation to add that context, but with that added context, I think it is different. I think it is, I don't want to say better. I don't think it's as bad.
Less inflammatory? No way.
Yeah, I think so.
Just the data and the metrics. So
I'm saying
if I come off the field and I'm on a second season expansion team that's doing horribly right now, and I come off on a post game presser and I emotionally, rightfully so, bitch about the ref or say something ridiculous that, I'm almost expected to, because I'm frustrated. I lost the game. I'm a competitor. I'm angry that I lost, and I say something and you can find me. And only so many people are going to see it. Just by the metrics on social media responding to an MLS league post, I think is much more inflammatory. It's much snarkier, and I think it's kind of less.
It's definitely snarkier. But my point is that what is the reason to have fines against criticizing officiating? In my opinion, the reason why you fine criticism of officiating from players and coaches is because you don't want to create that uneven relationship where they're criticizing directly the officials that they then have to interact with on a game-by-game basis. Whereas I think it's completely reasonable for a player or a head coach to criticize the league. And I think that's what Parker was doing. And I think that's where the difference is.
That's fair, but I think there are very, very direct avenues that are appropriate in that case. And
right.
I think the rest of them are not appropriate. And here's why. Because this is a product, and I mean Twitter and Instagram and all of these are marketing tools for a product, whether you're me, you, a league, or you're selling lip balm. Like that is a marketing avenue for a product. And when you're talking about this particular product, the reason that we have a lot of the respect to refs thing and all that kind of stuff is because this is a performance. This is a huge product that you're putting out here. And if the ref has botched his freaking part of the performance, which that guy totally did in two aspects, because A, it was the wrong call. Like, how far can you go back? And what are the technical rules as far as that goes? And if that's the case, you need to enforce it everywhere. And secondly, you're a performer. I don't care if you're not trained to perform, if you haven't had media training or whatever. If you're on a field in front of 30,000 people, or you're on a field in front of 10,000 people, I don't care what your role is. You're a performer. You're a part of the performance. And if you're making a call that has an A and a B, and you come out and you deliver to a home crowd,
perfect.
You deliver to
the comedic timing of the moment was fantastic. The guy, hire that man to get on stage and do that again. That was the timing was impeccable.
It was so Steve Martin-y. I had to rewind it and go, did he do that on purpose?
Yes, I think he did. He knew.
Is he taking the piss out of us?
100%. I'm going squints from Sandlot on this one. He knew exactly what he was doing.
I don't think so. I think he made a dope moment, and he even realized it halfway through, and that's why his snarky little face went dopey. Because I think that was just a dopey move, and he knows it. But again. You're a part of the performance. You're a part of the product.
You've created the first poll from one of our episodes. I'm going to put it up on X today, and it's going to be simply, which do you think would have been worse for the MLS if Tim Parker would have criticized the refs immediately post game or in a snarky Twitter post? Let's see which one people think would have been worse for the MLS, because I think this is a good back and forth we have going here. Let's focus on some positives from the game, not just the officiating, what actually happened on the field. We were talking about Jay Reid. I want to jump into a little bit of the numbers here from Jay Reid, because, man, I was blown away from what we saw from Jay Reid. He was absolutely incredible. And, in fact, if you listen to Bradley Carnell postgame.
Knew this on Thursday morning that this could be a potential to put Jay in. So we made all the necessary arrangements. We know we can call him up twice. We know he's had some MLS experience as well. We know he plays in our principals. We know he's doing a great job at City too. So for us, it was a no-brainer. I mean, we train very, very similarly. We play in the same intensity. He comes from a background that stylistically suits his game. He's the quickest player in the club, hands down. So yeah, he has moments to iron out. If there's anything to iron out on the back line, it's totally normal and natural to be getting cramps, in the 95th, 98th minute or whatever it was. Totally normal, totally natural. But, that he went and lasted so long did surprise me. And yeah, we're on the right track with Jay. Yeah, I mean, I never want to compare, I was a quick play on the back line. So if you do get yourself in a pickle, you have the pace to at least get back without having to make the crazy fouls, right? To move your feet quickly, stay on your feet. Brooks Lennon is a really good overlapping wing back. He's one of the best, if not the best crosser in the league. So Jay had his hands full, and I thought he dealt with it really, really well. So credit to him, credit to City 2 staff, himself, developing in the right way, being open-minded to grow within our City 2 program. And now, the platform's open for competition. I've just spoken to all the defenders. Competition is a good thing. It keeps us all hungry, keeps the desire there. We can't rest on what we've done, a few weeks ago, and making sure that we keep guys, really edgy and wanting to perform the best that they can in training.
And he really was just so incredibly poised. His passing was right where it needed to be. He was exactly where he needed to be. He created the width and the forwardness that City always needs from their left back. In fact, if you look at the passing network for the game, and you can see this is the first 71 minutes of the game. If you look at the passing network, Moon, you can see that the most used pass in the entire team was between Edward Leuven and Jay Reid. And so that left side connection that I always talk about with Anthony Marcanic, Edward Leuven, and usually Celio Pompeu or AZ Jackson, but in this game it was Nukvi Thoresen up at the left wing spot. That was a really important part of City progressing the ball throughout this game. Obviously, connecting with Tim Parker at the left center back spot was also extremely important. And so Jay Reid was really impressive, I thought, overall. The big thing that jumped out to me was he had 5 shot-creating actions in the game. If you look across the entire season at shot-creating actions from the left back spot this year, I know the left back spot hasn't been exactly what everyone wanted necessarily this season, but if you look at shot-creating actions from the left back spot, the big thing that's going to jump out is that he got 5 from this game the entire season. Left backs with 5 shot-creating actions in a game. Anthony Marcanic against FC Dallas with 8, and Anthony Marcanic against Chicago Fire with 5. So right there, that's it. And if you look at the last 10 games, players who got 5 shot-creating actions in a single game, the list of players who did it is Celio Pompeu, Edward Leuven, João Klauss, Thomas Totland, Jose Kojima, and Indiana Vassilev. And a couple of those guys did it a bunch of times, but that's it. Those are the only 6 players who have had 5+ shot-creating actions in a single game. You add in Jay Reid, you add in Anthony Marcanic. That's the entire list, just 8 players. So he was dynamic defensively, he was dynamic offensively, and while the defensive numbers don't jump out, only 1 tackle, and by the numbers, it technically wasn't a winning tackle because they didn't win possession off of it, and only 1 interception. He was 1-for-1 on challenges. He did have 3 clearances. None of those numbers are really going to jump out to you in any way, shape, or form. But the one thing you can't get numbers wise, Moon, is position. And he was everywhere he needed to be every single time. If he wasn't man marking, he was exactly where he needed to be, whether it was kicking inside when the ball was played, overloaded to one side, or it was making sure that an offside man on the complete opposite side of the field was staying offside instead of keeping him on with one misstep, which has happened sometimes on the left side. His positioning was perfect. When he was asked to man mark a guy, he was in his hip pocket the entire possession. He was unbelievable, and again, it was his first ever MLS start, and he played the last 30 minutes of that MLS start on a yellow card, and Carnell said he didn't really worry about that factor because of how quick he is and how professional he is. So, I mean, that was an absolute just moonshot of a game for a first MLS start by Jay Reid. He was incredible.
Thank goodness. And it goes to show you that just slight tweaks, man, and our defense isn't all that bad. And I was looking at some of the stats for this year compared to last year on how many shots on goal Berkey has taken, and it's a little bit less than last year.
Yes.
So, like, the defense isn't necessarily the issue as far as out and out, like our defense is awful all throughout the game. It's those moments of misposition and out of position, and what's been my only issue with Marcanic this year, positioning and the frantic, like, oh, I made a mistake, I got to get somewhere too quick. And, dude, I didn't miss him I did miss him, and it sucks that it takes that kind of tweak. But like you said, it's just been the positioning. I think that's what's cost us a lot of points this year. So if you look at the stats, the defense isn't totally blowing it. They're just blowing it in the worst times in the worst ways.
And it's soccer, so that's the entire game sometimes. That one worst play is one goal, and sometimes that's the entire game. And so you're absolutely right.
One goal and 3 points.
And in fact, to your point about Roman Burke seeing less shots on goal, we had him on 101 ESPN, like I mentioned earlier, and that was his question. Randy asked him, people have said this year that you guys are better than last year despite the record. Do you agree? And his comment was, well, we're better with the ball. We're letting up a lot less shots on goal than we were last year, but everything feels a little bit harder than it did last year. And I really think that's a really good approximation of the actuality we have, especially with us when we look at all these stats, and it's like, well, they are better in a lot of ways, but there's no doubt when you watch it, it does feel like they are pushing the ball up the hill and it's a little bit heavier.
Yeah, because if you're scoring goals,
Yep.
things feel easier.
Yeah.
And if this team can't finish with none of these guys are finishing, there's just no finishing.
Thanks,
and
Indy.
Klauss has been just having a rough go. Crossbars, shots off goal, good saves. We've been up against a couple great keepers recently, so that hasn't gone our way.
He was
But
back
the
in his
finishing-
game. He had a bad Rapids game, but he was back against Atlanta with it. He was in good positioning. He was receiving the ball in dangerous spots, but again, just some bad breaks.
Yeah. So since we mentioned Klauss, why don't you just give us the update?
Okay, yeah, let's jump right into the Klauss update. Essentially, he took a nick of some kind. I think they said his knee in training. This happened was announced on Thursday, I should say. And there's no definitive answer. Both him and Parker are TBA for Saturday's game. And we're recording this a little bit later on Thursday, so there might be an update on this on Friday. If there is, we'll be sure to let you know. But as it right now, João Klauss going in for an MRI, TBA on both those guys. We'll see if he plays. If not, it doesn't look like Sam Adeniran's going to play, obviously, because they've been keeping him out of the lineup because they're trying to find a transfer, and they want to keep him healthy to make sure that transfer is a little bit more easy to facilitate. I'm sure that's the deep down nitty-gritty of it. So the question is, can the young players or can some of your other forwards step up and make an impact? Two of the names that he did throw out were Caden Glover and Nukvi Thoresen, which are two other names I do want to jump back into from the Atlanta game really quickly, because now those guys might have an even bigger impact coming up on Saturday because of the João Klauss injury. So really quickly, I just want to jump into Caden Glover. He only played 19 minutes in his first game, but he really was impactful. He wasn't very good with the ball. I think he would say that he wishes he had one or two dribbles, one or two possessions back, that he really could have made something happen. But beyond that, he still made things happen in just 19 minutes played. He had 2 shots, 1 shot on target. He was one of only 5 players on the team that got multiple shots. He was one of only 4 players on the team that took a shot on target in the first place. And he was one of just 3 players on the team that drew multiple fouls. He drew 2 fouls in the game. Jose Kachima, by the way, led the team drawing 3 different fouls. He was very dangerous, moving the ball box to box. But Caden Glover, I just thought in that short, impactful time, he really was dangerous in his positioning the same way. But again, maybe some issues with the handling, with the decision-making at times. But he's a young player. He's playing his first time. That's not really surprising. So he looked good, though. So maybe we do see him get some time at the striker position instead of João Klauss. The other one, and Moon, if you follow my Twitter at all, or my X, whatever you want to call it, you'd know that I had some opinions on Nukvi Thoresen's game from this weekend. And people had some opinions about my opinions, Moon. So I just want to say this right now, and I'm going to try to qualify this as much as I can so that people don't jump on me, and people will still undoubtedly jump on me. Nukvi Thoresen had a very good game. Relative to every other game we've seen him play in a City jersey, which is to say, I think he had his best game for City, but he still needs a lot of work. And that doesn't mean he had a great game. Means he had a good game for what we expect from him, and there was some progress. The only reason I'm going to say there was progress: 3 shot-creating actions, 3 progressive passes, 4 progressive carries. He got over half of his 20 touches, I should say, in the attacking third, 11 of his 20 touches, and he had 4 of his 20 touches in the attacking penalty. That tied João Klauss for the most touches on the team in the attacking penalty, and those 4 touches pretty much came from 3 through balls that he beat the defensive back line for to get a ball forward. He got 1 shot. He misplayed one of the balls and was not able to get a good shot off in the second time, and then he missed the target on a second shot that was actually successful. One of those plays he did, I think you might like this, he did muscle off the defender, really like cordoned the defender off, really boxed him out like a basketball play to win the ball, and then he was able to get the shot taken. Again, he wasn't able to score, but I really did think Knut Thorison's biggest boon to this team is going to be just an out-and-out winger who's making runs and pressing the back line, running onto through balls. And while that's not going to be the end-all, be-all, a guy that completely changes your team, that's a guy who can be very useful for your team. And for the first time, for a full game, we actually saw him do that consistently, and that's a big change for him lately.
Yeah, it's a new team, and we're still developing chemistry. We're still developing identity, even as far as just a club, a team, chemistry with it. Between the players, you're talking about Glover probably getting some more minutes here since Klauss is most likely going to at least miss a week. And I would love to see, what happens when Kajima gets some more minutes and some more confidence, and Glover gets some more minutes and more confidence, and see how maybe some soccer IQ and chemistry can build within those individuals and those pairings and different things.
Kajima's incredible. I love
I really like Kajima.
That kid's amazing.
I really like him, and that's the other thing. I'm going to dive into the Thorison world by saying this. I think I like him. Hey, listen, have you ever had a friend that has a friend, and you see this friend all the time, and you're like, and if you're ever actually asked about him, or if you ever ask yourself about him, you're like, yeah, I like that guy, but I'm not sure who he is. I don't know who that guy is yet.
Yeah.
I haven't figured him out. You're kind of like, yeah, I like that guy, but I don't know him yet. I feel like even though we've seen Thorison a lot, in the past year or so, I still don't know who he is. I'm not sure what his identity on the field is. There are certain people that come right out of the gates and you know who they are. A Ronaldo, even let's say last season, you see a Stroud, you see Vasilev. I mean, Vasilev within 4 matches, you're like, okay, I know this guy. I know what he's doing. I know how he plays. You feel like you know what he's thinking when you watch him play. Thorison I'm still out on that. I don't know who the guy is yet. And I think I like him, but I understand your criticisms. And like you said, you see him perform a little bit differently this last week, and you're like, oh, that's different than before, which goes to my point, I still don't know if we've seen who this dude is. And again, maybe that we're still building the identity, we're still building the chemistry in the squad that's on the field, and maybe he's just that kind of guy. He's kind of a ghost.
I think we saw what he can be, which is just press the back line. If we have you out on the left side, help replace what Celio was, make some cutting left to right runs. While Celio would kind of do it by carrying the ball, we're going to do it by you making back runs with through balls that you're going to run onto. And Edward Leuven had no problem, throwing those through balls all day long against that Atlanta back line. So I think that's his role. So I'm not sure how necessarily he would fit as the striker, having to replace Klauss. But at this point, when you talk about the depth they're looking at, who else is going to play that position at this point unless you're going 100% youth? It makes sense that it's going to be Thorison. He's got some height too, so they like crossing the ball a lot more than I think makes sense for the profile of the players they are currently fielding. So Thorison's a little bit taller. Maybe you put him in at the striker with that thought process.
It's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see him in that position if that's where if they throw him, if they throw him in a 9 kind of thing. Maybe that's where he shines. Maybe that's where we see his personality.
Yeah,
see his player personality. I don't know.
They play Klauss in not necessarily. See, one thing that's kind of been getting me is we've been calling Klauss a false 9 just because people couldn't get over the fact that his positioning isn't the same as an out and out classic 9. But he doesn't get the possession or the passing that a false 9 would. It's just that his positioning is mostly connected to filling in space to pull other guys off and for defensive and press reasons. So like he's not really a false nine for that, for passing reasons, but I feel like you could use like Kojima or Thorson more of a false nine, and then, you know, Thorson could then, you know, think about like 1-2s essentially. Indy comes over, Thorson plays the 1-2 to him. Now Indy's feeding him on the back line instead of him, you know, necessarily being like an out-and-out striker. He comes and gets the ball deep from the midfield. Indy comes, you know, a little bit inside off the right wing, and then it's a 1-2 from Indy back to Thorson to kind of open him up in the middle. That could be one way I think you use Thorson, kind of in the same way of positioning your striker deep the way they do with Klauss.
Man, I hope that they are in training right now. They're working on actual plays, chemistry, building relationships between some of these guys that they may use in these positions rather than just working on hope, because that's all
they're not
in my mind.
They're definitely not working on hope, Moon. Come on. Carnell's talked about it. Everything happens in training. Everything important happens in training. You know, between like for how they build between the games, and so it's all about in training. And so trust me, that's a big thing, and they know that the chemistry is a big factor, and that's why it's so important. And this is what we're gonna lean into a little bit here before we get into our Vancouver preview. We're gonna get into just the importance of the connection across the organizational pyramid, because the chemistry is a little bit easier when you don't have to worry about going through the playbook, because the playbook's been the exact same. Jaden Reid's been playing the same playbook. He was playing with, you know, the academy team, and then he got moved up to STL City 2 with an MLS Next Pro, and now he's up to the first team. He hasn't really had to learn a new style in any of those changes. He's had to learn new teammates chemistry-wise, but he hasn't had to learn new stylistically and, you know, philosophical chemistry, which is very important and very, very hard to learn. And so that's been very important as well, is that these guys are coming up through this pyramid, and there's a consistency across the coaching. And that's been huge too. And credit to the pyramid, and credit to the success of the pyramid. I do want to say good luck to the City Academy tonight. They'll be playing for the Gateway Conference Championship in the UPSL. The winner of this game will go into the UPSL round of 32 for the playoffs. By the way, the 2023 fall UPSL season, this is the 2024 spring. They have two different seasons for each year. The 2023 fall UPSL season ended with St. Louis City's Academy team losing in the national championship in a 2-1 match. So the last time they were in the playoffs, they made it all the way to the final before losing in a 2-1 game. So they win tonight. They're in the round of 32, and they might be marching on, hopefully, to take the championship and pull a little revenge off from last year. So it's been an impressive run for the Academy team. They're 9-1. They're 9-1-0, by the way. That's 9 wins, 1 draw, and 0 losses on the campaign this season with 41 goals scored. It's been very impressive for them. And also, STL City 2 had another win this weekend. This time it was a 2-0 win against Sporting Kansas City 2. Another record-setting attendance mark, by the way, by St. Louis City fans. Congratulations to St. Louis City and St. Louis City 2 fans. You guys have just continued to break records over and over again. I think it's just at this point, it's just St. Louis City 2 breaking their own record 6 or 7 times over, and no one else has even broken any of the city records. It's unbelievable that they keep on breaking records. And one of the big stars of that 2-0 win, one of the big stars that has emerged over St. Louis City 2 over the last few weeks has been Makai Joyner. He had a goal in that game, and he has been named the one of the match week 8 MLS Next Rising Stars. He has 6 goals in 652 minutes at 17 years old, including 3 game-winning goals for STL City 2. STL City 2, by the way, also killing it this year. They are leading the MLS Next Pro Western Conference. They have 33 points in 14 games played. They have 10 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws. I just want to jump into Makai Joyner really quick. The Bloomington, Illinois native. He has already drawn 19 fouls in 652 minutes played. The other players on the team the leader on the team, I should say, has drawn 22 fouls in 1,100 minutes played. Next on the team, 17 drawn fouls. in 1,070 minutes played. Again, Makai's at 19 fouls in just 652 minutes. And also those goals, he's leading the team right now with 6 goals, again, in 652 minutes. Second on the team, Johnny Klein III has 5 goals in 1,083 minutes. Not trying to take anything from those guys. I'm just trying to highlight how incredible this 17-year-old out of Bloomington, Makai Joyner, has been for St. Louis City 2. 6 goals in 652 minutes. He's absolutely killing it.
Yeah, Joyner is on a tear. We're gonna see him in a City jersey, in a first team jersey. John Klein also scored in that match.
Yes.
He scored his 5th in that match, and they have now a 5-game win streak, and they've won 9 of their last 10 matches, which is just spectacular.
That's
so
insane.
you're right. The system is working. We just need some finishing at the top level. We just need some finishing, and the real heartbreak of it has been we haven't played any world class teams, which brings me to this next match. If you're ready to move on.
I am absolutely ready to move on to a interesting matchup against Vancouver with one of my deep-cut favorite players in international soccer, the Scotsman, the captain for Vancouver, Ryan Gauld. I love this guy. He's a monster. I'm scared. I'm a little bit worried.
Well, between Gauld and one of their other stars, White, Brian White, like they have skill over there. Although both of those guys, I'm almost certain, have been really underperforming this year. If you look at the stats, they're well ahead of us in the table. I think they might be 9th.
No, Gauld has 12 goal contributions this year. I think it's 7 goals and 5 assists in his 15 starts or so. Gauld is actually, what are the actual numbers here? Let me pull this up in front of me. Yeah, so let me break that down the other way. 9 goals and 3 assists for 12 goal contributions for Gauld across his 18 starts, and his expected is 9 goals and 1 assist. So he's actually outplaying. He's right there with his expected goals, but he's outplaying his expected assists in 12 contributions through 18 starts. That's not too shabby.
If I'm right from some of my math, that was from early in the season. He jumped out to a really big start, and I think the Whitecaps have been struggling a little bit to really finish and have some goal-scoring opportunities in the last third, just in these last couple matches. Like, you'll have to check it there.
Yeah, they won 4 of their 6 matches. They have cooled off since then. They've won just 2 of their last, 9 matches. But they have won 2 of their last 4. It's just that there was a stretch there across late April through late May where they went 3-3 with 3 draws and 3 losses. They went 3 goals, 3 games scoreless, similar to the way City did as well. They are right now coming off both a 3-2 loss to the New England Revolution and a 2-0 loss to the Portland Timbers the last 2 weeks. Those were coming off of 2-1 wins over Sporting Kansas City and the Colorado Rapids. Maybe not the cream of the crop necessarily with those W's. So you're right. They have been struggling. They have been struggling since that opening run where they won 4 of their first 6, and their wins lately have come against the poorer teams.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things. As long as Gauld and White are kind of cold, or at least handled by the defense, and we get a little bit of finishing, this is not a team we shouldn't beat.
At this point, it's just finishing for me. I mean, because the problem is you just talked about it before. One of them, if not both of them, is probably going to find themselves with a one-on-one moment with Berkey, because at this point, unfortunately, while there's not a lot of them, you can pretty much chalk up there being at least one of them pretty much every single game. So one of those guys is going to have that moment. Whether or not he finishes, historically, it's about a 50% proposition. So the question is going to be, can City actually finish? That's going to be my big thing.
It's going to be an interesting match, and I'm just trying to get into like predictor land and see what happens. And
it's a dangerous land there. Lava, spikes,
yeah,
storms are raging, tornadoes.
Unfortunately, in this particular matchup, I'm just kind of looking at the last couple weeks for both teams. And if things go as they have been, if there's been little change in the behavior of both teams, it's going to be colossally boring because their offense is going to fail and our offense is going to fail. So we haven't been finishing. They've been kind of cold in the box. So if things go, if they stay right now status quo, it could be a somewhat boring match. But what that also means is if they get hot and finish one early or 2, or if St. Louis starts to finish, especially with maybe Thoresen on a 9 or maybe Glover starting, who knows? I think whoever scores first is going to have such an advantage. Of course, scoring first is always just a massive advantage as far as just shifting the game and the momentum and everything. But in this game in particular, with these two teams in this part of the season for both of them, whoever scores first is going to be on a high. And I just got a feeling whoever scores first is going to win by 2 or 3.
I like how you're assuming someone's going to score.
I said it could be very boring, man.
The other issue there you have to think about, though, is that City still hasn't figured out the issues with playing away.
Yeah,
that's still real and palpable, and everything you're saying makes me think it's not going to be the most exciting game in the world in the first place. I honestly think that if you're City, you're not too unhappy. You don't want to see more draws, but it's an away game. You're still just you're just thin right now, roster-wise.
That's long travel too, man. That's long travel.
I'm thinking optimistically 1-1 draw.
Yeah. I think we're man, I hate to say this. I think we're seeing a 3-1, and I'm not even going to say who's going to win.
God dang it.
It could be whoever gets that first goal is winning 3-1.
God, I like that call. I really do. I really do like that call. Here's my question for you. We'll put up the poll. We'll have some fun with this one. Obviously, a lot of things will be up in the air with Klauss's final diagnosis and a lot of things. My question for you, they get one more start on the short-term loan situation with Jay Reid. First of all, I think he proved enough that he probably should get a contract overall. But do we see them burn the other start for Jay Reid on a short-term loan, or are we back to Marcanic/Akil Watts on Saturday at the left back spot? Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Mind you, Parker's also TBA. Parker and Klauss are both TBA, but Klauss also spoke at the conference, and he didn't seem like he was that negative about not being able to play. So maybe that's all fluff and not really a thing. But I'm just saying, he does play left center back a lot when he's out there. Nielsen usually plays the right side, and so does that change how you think about the left back spot? I don't know. I would love to see Jay Reid again. Because at this point, if he can do that 2 games in a row, just give him the freaking contract.
Yeah, normally I would say that they would probably not do it and they'd kind of go back, but I feel like this is one of those times where you gotta load the gun.
He just looked like a pro. I mean, sometimes you just watch a guy play and you're like, that's a young player who is a little freaked out by what's happening right now. I mean, there was a single moment where he looked like a 3-year vet. He looked like a 21-year-old that you've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 years, who's got 17 to 25 starts under his belt, and you're just waiting for him to break out. I mean, he was that kind of young player. He wasn't Bambi-footed at all. I mean, and he's big too. He's legitimately like 6'1", like 200 pounds. I mean, he's a big kid too, and so he just looks like a pro the same way Kojima does. And I'm not trying to knock any other young players, but those guys they have a different look to them out there.
They look like they belong.
Yes, 100%. They just look like pro players right out of the gate.
I said you got to load the gun, and I just feel like at this point where you are in this team or where you are in this season. What's the catalyst? Like, where's the catalyst? You have to have something that's going to just, like, shoot us somewhere. Just give us a little bit of adrenaline. And you wouldn't expect it from somebody playing in that kind of position, but you're right. Like, we need it, and you can get it really from anywhere. And maybe he's the guy. So I would say that normally under better circumstances we wouldn't see him, but I think there's probably a greater chance that we will.
And but I do wonder because you'd pushed Watts to a lot of minutes with them having 3 games in a week. So now you have a little bit more time to rest. And I wonder if the team would be thinking that it'd be irresponsible to burn his other start and loan when they already have a completely healthy Watts and Marcanic both. That would be the thing that stops them.
But again, dude, if we had a few more wins, if we weren't where we are in the table, yeah, totally. Let's play that game. Let's play safe. But this is not time. This is not the time to play safe. Like, what are we going to lose? We're going to go. We're going to go further away from the playoffs. Come on. We have to go in the right direction here and not be safe. What's to be safe? What are we saving? Are we saving a fourth place? Are we saving a third place? No. Like, the standings are embarrassing right now. Our schedule coming up is San Jose on July 3rd.
Winnable.
Then we got Colorado away.
Should be at least.
On the 7th. And then we have back to Vancouver. Because remember, this is the first time we play Vancouver this year. Is tomorrow. Or, is this weekend. So back to Vancouver on July 13th. Again, winnable. July 17th is Seattle. In Seattle, then it's in Kansas City, and then July closes out against Dallas at home. So if you don't have momentum kind of going into that Seattle, KC, Dallas sort of weeks, what the heck do you have? So
reinforcements. At that point, you have reinforcements.
Well, okay, then Watson and Marcanic are ready because they've played fewer minutes and they're ready for more. But
Yes, that's true. But I'm just saying, if you get an injury between now and prior to July 18th. I'm just saying, if you would get an injury between now and July 18th, and then you still don't have Girdwood Rocc yet to give you another center back, but again, I'm just telling you how teams have to think and what would stop them from playing Jay Reid again. But again, I think we have our second poll question to throw out to the listeners. The first one's going to be our disagreement earlier. Now it's going to be who starts at left back.
Yeah, I wish we were 2 or 3 weeks in the future making this
you and
call.
Me
because
both.
You're right. The time would be better, but again, maybe I'm just intense. Listen, my dad was a football coach in college and in high school and everything, and he was always, this is old school football, but he's like anytime there was you kick a field goal for the win or the time's running out and you go for the touchdown, he was like, I was a go for the touchdown guy. I go for the win. I go for the win. Go for the win. You just don't play safe. That's how I was raised.
Here's the thing, Moon. Again, we're recording this on Thursday, which means right now we are exactly 3 weeks away from the transfer window opening. From 3 weeks from today is when Jake Girdwood Rocc, Cedric Toyshirt, and just announce it already. We know it's happening, City. Marcel Hartle will join City all on their transfers. So 3 weeks from now is when. So yeah, I'm with you, Moon. I want it to be 3 weeks from now as well. Because then we'd have we'd have a striker. We wouldn't be worrying about Klauss and who's the backup. We'd have Hartle, so we wouldn't be worrying about the finishing because we'd be having him on our side. And I wouldn't be worrying about the center back depth with Parker at TBA and wondering what's going on with the left back because we'd have Jake Girdwood Rocc as a depth piece. So yeah, I also wish it was 3 weeks from now.
But these next 3 weeks, these are not hold on to points matches. These are
win points matches.
Yeah, we have to take the win. So you do what you got to do. Even if there's a gamble, you throw the gamble. Spin the wheel. Put Reid on the left. Start him.
There it is.
Let's do this.
You heard it from Moon. Start him.
Right?
I'm with you on. I'm with you on it too. Mainly because I don't care about the short-term loan limit and being able to only play him in 2 matches because of short-term loans. Because just give him the contract. He looks the part. I could be wrong. He could be looking completely different in training. But with the way that Berkey, Carnell, and Vasilev already talked about him, he looks incredible. Parker talked about him in the presser on Thursday. He looks like a pro. So I don't care about burning through the loans because I say give him the contract anyway.
Yeah, I'm excited to see who it is. It's going.
And again, this is coming from a guy who's been a huge Marcanic defender. And again, if you like stats and you don't like the fact that and you like clearances and you like tackles and you like interceptions, then Marcanic you should love Marcanic. But I'm all about having depth. And heck, Marcanic actually might have had his best game of the season defensively, playing left center back in a back 5. And Jaden Reid certainly showed offensively that he could play left wing back if you need him to. He's fast enough. He's got the stamina for it. So, yeah, I'm okay with having that kind of depth. Play them both. Be successful with both of them. I don't care. Just bring home 3 points.
Yeah, I misspoke earlier. I said St. Louis was like 13th or 14th. We are 12th right now.
Yeah, everyone else isn't very great either.
I forgot. Yeah, Casey has just totally crapped the bed recently.
Somebody said to me a couple of days ago that the season's over already. You're like 6 points.
That's not true.
You're like 6 points back, I think, from a playoff spot. It's not ideal, but literally
this season is not over.
Before the league's cup break, you could be within a game of a wild card spot. That's like the math on that is insanely easy.
Dude, look at the schedule. This game is, this season is not over. If
So
they just
far
start
from over.
finishing, if some weird hero comes in here and has a couple back-to-back matches with some goals, we take some points here, we are right back in like a serious talk, a serious running for playoff spots. And then everything goes out the window once those playoffs start. Nobody cares about our horrible start to the season.
The chances that hero is either German or sounds German it seems very, very high to me.
Yeah, probably likely. But, man, it could be a homegrown kid. Who knows, man? That is the exciting part about this. So I hope people out there that are thinking the season is over or whatever, turn the frown upside down and think like, oh, this is a positive time where maybe we see some freaking Kurt Warner crap come out of nowhere. And we've seen it before. We've seen it in different ways in this city. And mathematically, we're nowhere near out of this thing. Plus, this is a wild league, and as you saw last year, this team can get on streaks. And this team and fans that are really paying attention admit that as far as just the team versus last year, we do have a better team. We should have a better team. We should have better results, and all we need is a streak of better results. And we're talking totally different here, Rocc.
Even Vancouver's coach thinks that City has been better this year than they were last year, and just chalks it up to the luck and the easy things aren't breaking their way. It just at this point it's not it's everyone saying that, and I don't think it's because everyone's just like glomming onto the same statement. I just think it's kind of obvious to everyone that the roster is better. It's going to get even better here in a little bit, and it's just the everything's breaking against them, considering how many times Klauss has just barely missed, or there's been an incredible save, or the woodwork has played into it.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm sick of stressing out, so let's close this up. If you are going to watch the match, do not forget it's a 9:30 start because they are way over in Western Canada and BC, Vancouver Whitecaps. So that's a 9:30 start for Central Time. Yes, it is on MLS Season Pass, as you know, on Apple TV app, and you should be able to find it at 9:30 p.m. It's a late one. I'm going to be on the eastern border as well, so I will be watching it at 10:30 after I get off stage.
Some late night goals.
Yeah, no big deal. I'll get off stage and I'll be able to watch it, which is good. The last couple of matches I've been on stage, so I haven't been able to see it at all, except for in review.
All right, we're going to get the moon bounce, baby. Let's go.
Yes, I'll be watching and screaming and stressing out while people that root for different teams surround me. So it'll be great. Rocc, you got anything else?
No, I'm all good, Moon. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. Again, shout out to the academy teams. Y'all have been killing it. Again, by the time we post this episode, we'll know whether or not the City Academy won their game for the conference championship in the UPSL. So, shouts out to them if they did. If they didn't, what an incredible season, and obviously just a lot of impressive young players. Doing great work for the academy team. So, love what the academy team's doing. Love what City 2's doing, and hopefully we can see some more young players play this weekend.
That's right. It's going to be a good week of fun weather. I hope you stay safe out there. Enjoy yourself. We will talk to you next week for 4th of July week. And at that point, we will have an email for you, a listener email for listener questions, tips, all that kind of stuff. So we'll announce that next week. We'll see you then. Thank you again for listening wherever you download podcasts or watch the show. Make sure you subscribe and share it with your friends. Share it with your kids, with your grandma, with everybody. We appreciate you very much. And with that, we leave you with a good, solid
Go!